In this video we're going to be using Adobe Illustrator to create a flat design of this retro looking speaker. It's made up of some pretty simple shapes, looks like circles and rectangles only, so let's get started today. We should be able to knock this over in no time at all. Set up to your file menu, select new, and from the web templates we're going to choose this web 1280 by 1024 document size, and we'll click create. First thing you want to do is just grab your rectangle tool from your toolbox, and we're going to put a background color in on this canvas. Turn your stroke off to begin with, so look for that little box there with the red line going through it. And for your fill color we're just going to choose a darkish kind of blue. Something like that'll look pretty decent. And just start the top left hand corner, click and drag down to the bottom right corner, and you'll have yourself a background. Go to your layers panel. Just expand layer 1 by hitting that little arrow next to it. Click on this rectangle layer, and in the empty box here next to the little eye, you can click, and that will just lock your background into place so you can no longer edit it. Next thing I'm going to do is grab our rectangle tool back, and we're going to start drawing the stereo. So I want you to change your fill color now, and we're going to choose a lightish blue. I'm going to use the color mixer here and type in a hexadecimal code, and that code that we're looking for is 64C 5B4. When we press enter, see the fill color changes to like a light bluish kind of color. Once you got that up, just draw for me a decent sized rectangle across your page, something that should look like that. It doesn't have to be a set size, but try and position it somewhere in the center and get it looking something like mine. And once you have drawn that stereo section, which is like the main body of it, we're going to start drawing the speakers that come in next. Alright, so to draw the speakers we're going to grab our ellipse tool here, and with the ellipse tool we need to change some colors again. We're going to change the fill color over here. Actually, I'll just click off this rectangle first, otherwise it'll change the color of that. Now the fill color of my speaker. Okay, I'm going to use another hexadecimal code. I'm going to type in F16E1F. When I press enter, you'll see you get this bright orange color. Now not only do I want a fill, I also want a stroke, which is a border. I'm going to go back to the color mixer here, and I'm going to just click on black for a moment, but then I'm going to change it by typing in a hexadecimal code again, which will be 34495E. When I press enter, you'll see it's a darkish blue. I'm going to change the size of that stroke up to 10 point in size. Then I'm going to come across onto my stereo body here. I'm going to hold shift when I draw this circle, so it draws for me a perfect circle. Okay, so make it a reasonable size. We've got to fit 2 of these on the page, so don't make it too big. You've also got to fit a few dials up the top here as well, so just give it a bit of room. Something like that in that position will look pretty good. Now we just want to draw a central part to this circle as well, so we're going to go back and grab our ellipse tool. Down here we've got this little arrow which will switch our fill and stroke colors around. I want you to do that. So the blue comes on top. Now is our fill color. And we're actually going to go to our properties and get rid of the stroke. So with the stroke, just find the white box with the red line through it to turn it off. Now to draw this blue circle, I'm just going to zoom in a bit here. I want you to hover around the center of your speaker. Now it's hard to see on the screen due to the colors, but there is some pink writing that appears on top of my circle, and it says center. That's showing me that my mouse is currently on the center point of this circle. So once I'm on that center point, I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard and then click and drag, and that will draw a circle coming out of that center point. Now you can see I can make this circle any shape, but if I hold Shift now, it'll make a perfect circle, which is what I'm looking for. Alright, so I want you to make a perfect circle, look something like that. That's how our speaker is pretty much going to look. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do to this speaker is just put a shadow across half of it. Okay, so to do that I'm just going to go to my layers and lock the rectangle for a moment, which is the rectangle for the speaker. I'm also going to lock this bottom rectangle, which is the background color. Okay, I don't want to touch them for a moment. So I've just got my speaker here unlocked. Now I'm going to go back to my toolbox and grab the rectangle tool again, change my properties over here, and I'm going to go to the fill color and make it black. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle that goes over half of the speaker. Now you should see some pink guides come up when you're at the halfway point on the speaker. When they do come up, just drop that rectangle into place like so. Now we're going to change the opacity or the transparency of this rectangle by just clicking on it and going to the opacity over here in your properties. We're going to make it 20%. Okay, so it becomes see-through. Now that's put a shadow across our speaker here, which is what we're looking for, but we've still got this extra part of the rectangle we need to get rid of. So to get rid of that, what you need to do is just click and drag over the speaker and that black rectangle that we drew, so they're all selected. Then come across to your toolbox and get your shape builder tool. Okay, the shape builder tool is those two little circles and a white arrow. Now all you need to do is hold Alt on your keyboard and click once on that extra black rectangle that's going around the outside of the speaker. Okay, and you'll end up with something looking like that. That's one of our speakers done. Okay, if you highlight all of that again, just right click on it and group it all together, or press Ctrl G for the shortcut, so that makes that speaker one big shape. What we're going to do now is just duplicate this, so with your selection tool, your black arrow, click on this shape once and then hold Alt and then drag across. Now while you're holding Alt, hold Shift as well, which will move that speaker exactly across from the original. When you've got it on the right hand side, just drop it into position. So now I've got two speakers on our stereo. Now the next thing we might do is put a few little dials up the top here. Okay, they're quite simple to do. They don't really need to mean anything, but what I'm going to have here is the rectangle tool again. In my fill box here, I'm going to choose a light yellow kind of colour. It's a bit harsh, that yellow, so I might just tone it down by coming across with a bit of orange, lighten it up here. Probably something like that. We're going with a slightly washed out look, so that's why I don't want to use those really bright colours. And if I hold down Shift, I'm just going to draw myself a little rectangle up here. Alright, I'm going to grab my selection tool now. With this still selected, I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to drag across and snap in a second rectangle next to it. Now I want to change the fill colour of that to an orangey kind of colour, so just use your colour mixer there. Just choose a washed out orange like so. Now you can select both of those using your selection tool and holding Shift, and then hold Alt to click and drag across, and you can put another two there and then another two there. Should be able to get them all connected like so. Okay, and then I just want you to highlight those 6, press Ctrl G to group them, and just move them across to the center of that speaker. So it'll look something like that. Alright, on the other side, we're going to put in like a little volume control slider. That's a pretty simple one too. So grab your rectangle tool again, change your fill color. I'm just going to choose a darkish kind of washed out blue. Something along those lines will probably do us. And I'm just going to click and drag a skinny line that goes across like that. Now I'm going to use my selection tool to pick that up and just try and center it with the speaker. Oops, and get it centered with those other ones over there. That's looking pretty good. And to put in a little slider now, what we're going to do is just grab our rectangle tool again. Make sure you click off everything before you change the fill color. And I'll go with another yellowy color. Just make sure it's a washed out kind of yellow that you're choosing here. Maybe even a gold color, that'll look alright. And this is going to be our little volume control slider. Alright, if you want, you can grab your selection tool and move that around, but actually that's looking pretty good where it is. Alright, so that's basically the body section, or the main part of our stereo all done. We just need to whack a handle on it up here, and then we're pretty much done. So to do the handle, let's start by doing the little bits that come up first of all. So grab your rectangle tool, change your fill color. I'll use a hexadecimal code for this one. I'm going to type in 364 5A. Press enter. Now it's going to attach to my stereo here. I'm just going to click up, put in one little handle there. Grabbing my selection tool, I'll hold down Alt, click and drag that, and also hold Shift and drop one over the other side as well. Okay, they don't need to be big, and they are blending in a little bit with the background there, so feel free to click on them and just change their color a little bit. You might want to just brighten them up, just so you can see them stand out on that background a little more. That's a bit better. Now we want to put a handle that runs across the top here. Okay, if we just go back and have a look at the original, it was just this yellow handle runs across the top there. I might just make these a little bit fatter as well. There we go. Okay, so this handle runs across the top. We're going to choose another fill color using a hexadecimal code, so it'll be FBC F3C. That's that bright yellow color. Just click and drag across about the same width as the stereo itself, and you'll get that nice big handle in. Last thing I want to do now is just put a bit of a shadow across half of this stereo, just going with that flat design kind of feel. So what you can do now is just unlock that rectangle layer there. You can leave the bottom rectangle layer, which is your background, locked, but everything else should be unlocked. Grabbing your rectangle tool, we'll change the color to black for the fill. No stroke, of course, and we're just going to click and drag over half of our stereo. Okay, your guide should show you when you get to halfway. Drop that into place and change the opacity. We'll try 20% again and see how that looks. Yeah, it seems fine. And now we will grab our selection tool. I want you to select everything on the page. Grab your shape builder tool and simply hold Alt and click on this excess shadowing that you don't need. So just up there and there. So now what we've got is half of our stereo shaded in. And that is pretty much it. If you want, you can highlight it all. Press Ctrl G to group it, and we can just move it up in towards the center there. But that is our stereo looking pretty good. I'll just go back and check the original to make sure we've covered everything. It looks like we have. So that will do us in this tutorial.